Hello, I'm A.D. Hobbs, and I'm going to do a review of the movie Flight of the Navigator. But before that, I thought I'd better apologise about two of my previous reviews. One of them, which was about the American War of Independence, and stuff about America in general. Basically, in the review I said that the word America means new, because another name for America is the New World. So the word America means new. That's what I thought when I did the review, but more recently I found out, no, that's not why it's called America at all. It's called America, North and South America, because there was a great explorer that circumnavigated the mainland, or most of the mainland, and he was, I think he was either Spanish or Italian, but anyway, he was an explorer, and his name was Amerigo. Amerigo. So in honour of him, the place was called America, North and South America, named after him. So the word America doesn't mean new at all, but that's what my teacher told me when I was 9. But then come to think of it, it wasn't the first time she was wrong about historical facts. So anyway, thought I'd better clear that up. The second thing I better clear up is, well, I better apologise about my Back to the Future 3 review. There was a malfunction with the machine, and it ended about 5 minutes before it had to. But then come to think of it, it was a very long review. It was about 25 minutes long. So, for those of you who are interested, I better tell you what the last 5 minutes is. Well, nothing that fancy, just me wrapping it up, really. And I was talking about how Time Bandits was 4 years before Back to the Future, and coincidentally, that has a character that wants to stay in a different time period. Just as Back to the Future 3, Dr. Brown prefers the Old West to his own time period, so the idea had been done before, that's what I was saying. The other two things I said in the last 5 minutes were Back to the Future 1, 2 and 3, they connect together really well, so that it feels like one big movie. Everything comes full circle. Rather than totally different stories, no, it all feels connected. They connect really well, and so the trilogy feels like one big movie. So I thought that was clever, the way that was done. Oh, and also, in Back to the Future 3, Dr. Brown tells Clara that he's a man from the future and everything, and of course she doesn't believe him. So why doesn't he say, I can prove it to you? You know, you don't have to take my word for it, I can prove it to you, you know. I can go back to my own time, then come back here 2 minutes after we've had this conversation, and you'll see me and my vehicle materialise out of thin air in the air over there. Yeah, why didn't he just say that? Why didn't he say, I can prove it to you? Because he can. But no, he's a man of science, he's a genius, and his brilliant plan is, maybe she'll take my word for it. She doesn't believe him in the slightest, so yeah. Okay, but there we are. Okay, back to the point. The point is, Flight of the Navigator was made in 1986. It starred Joey Kramer, and the only other thing I can think of he did that movie in 1984 about the robots or something with Tom Selleck, Runaway, yeah. So yes, he had acting experience. Is Flight of the Navigator a good film? Well, it's a mixed mesh, that's the best way I could describe it. It has some good things and some bad things. So, not as bad as it could have been, but not as good as it could have been either. And unfortunately I have no visual aid, I don't have any Flight of the Navigator merchandise. All I know is Flight of the Navigator was one of those films, it was supposed to be this really big blockbuster movie, you know, it was on a very big budget. But, and it pioneered a few new special effects, you know, but it didn't do very well at all, you know. It has, however, gained a good subcult following over the years, so that's good. And I'll be honest, Flight of the Navigator was made because of the success of E.T., you know. E.T., an alien who's on the run from the government are made out to be the bad guys. In the same way, okay, he's not actually an alien, he's a human earthling, but he's had contact with alien intelligence. That's close enough, the government are after him. They tend to do this a lot after the success of E.T., yes, in Howard the Duck, he's an alien, he's on the run, the government are made out to be the bad guys. In Starman, he's on the run, you know. In Splash, not an alien, but a unique life form, a mermaid, on the run from the government. And in Flight of the Navigator, he's on the run from the government. All of this palaver because of the success of E.T. So Mac and Me is not the only imitator of the success of E.T. That's basically what I'm trying to say there. And, well, when I first heard about Flight of the Navigator, I saw a clip from it, and it was when the Transmaxium drone thing, called MAX for short, is showing Dave these strange alien specimens. So I assumed we were in a building on an alien planet. No, we're not. That was the thing I found disappointing when I first saw the film. It's this super cool spaceship that can travel at any speed. It can go anywhere in the galaxy really, really fast. So what does he do? They just fly around the Earth a bit, you know. What? You can go anywhere in the universe, and that's it. You just fly around a bit awkwardly around the world a bit. That was disappointing. I would have preferred it if, I don't know, they visited at least one alien planet and then gone back home, you know. Also, the movie is only about an hour and 25 minutes long. We have to wait 40 minutes before the boy actually goes inside the alien spaceship. So that's almost half of the film to wait. You know, that was a long time. And I do remember as a child, I had the film on video. Because yes, for our younger viewers, videos, that's what we had before DVDs. Anyway, I remember as a child fast forwarding it to 40 minutes in. You know, I'm fed up with all this build-up. I want to see the spaceship right now, you know. And they do give hints of the spaceship now and again, like, well, in the opening sequence we see what looks like a UFO flying in the sky. No, it's only a frisbee. Then later on everyone stops and looks in the sky. Wow, what is that? That's blotting out the sun. What can it possibly be? And it's a blimp. It's an airship. So yes, the director teases now and again, thinks, no, you're not going to see a UFO just yet. But you will see one soon enough. And, so I suppose I was disappointed that the alien spaceship didn't visit anywhere, you know. But the movie Explorers, made 1 year earlier, 1985, but I saw Flight of the Navigator when I was about 10, then I saw Explorers 1 year later. Explorers, that's instead of one boy, it's 3 boys have the little spaceship they've made. They had some help from alien intelligence. Anyway, and if they fly around the world a bit awkwardly, then they don't visit an alien planet, but they whiz really, really fast out in uncharted space, and they go inside a spaceship that's like as big as a town, and walk about it and stuff, and then see lots of strange things, then go home. So yeah, that was better. That was like the improved version of Flight of the Navigator. Okay, technically Explorers came first, but you know what I mean? That's just what I wanted. It was as if on cue, here you are, better version of Flight of the Navigator. So that was really cool. Okay, I'll say some bad things and some good things about Flight of the Navigator. Well, for a start, Flight of the Navigator, the first half is quite serious and adds a lot of interesting science fiction elements. The second half is comedic. The tone goes from comedy. But it's just not very funny. Oh, there's 1 or 2 bits that are funny, but the way that Max takes everything literally, you know, being like a robot, he doesn't understand any sarcasm or anything like that. So you have to be specific when you give an order. But it's, I don't know, just the jokes aren't that funny. Like the bit when the alien spaceship stops because the character David needs to go to the toilet. There's no toilet facilities on board the ship, so he just has to go outside. Unfortunately, that's one of the funniest jokes in the film. Even at the age of 10, I thought, we stopped the spaceship so he can go out and relieve himself. Is that the funniest joke you can think of? Is that the best you can do? Maybe that's a funny joke for a Saturday morning cartoon, but not for a proper mainstream film. You know, I want something a bit funnier than that, you know, a bit better. Yeah, the jokes were not all that funny, you know, but in spite of that, yes, it's not all bad, you know. And, oh yes, the robot, who's voiced by the same actor that does Pee Wee Herman, you can't tell, because his voice is so dull and logical, you know, like a artificial intelligence. He's baffled when David needs to go to the toilet. He has no concept of what going to the toilet is. Wait a minute. He's programmed to study all these different alien life forms from various parts of the galaxy. He's been studying them for some time. And he has no concept of excrement going to the toilet. He doesn't know what that is. Well, he clearly hasn't been programmed very well then, has he? If he doesn't know that. Another thing is, when David goes out and he says, open the door, I'll be right back, I promise. Do not know promise. He doesn't know the word promise. What? He can speak thousands of languages, yet he hasn't got round to learning all the English words yet. That's a bit silly. And also, when because David, although he doesn't know this yet, he has star charts inside parts of his brain that the human brain can't use yet. And so that Max analyses his brain to get the star charts inside so he knows how to navigate the spaceship. But as a result, he inadvertently gets some human characteristics. And then afterwards goes, ha, 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 laughs the way Pee Wee Herman laughs. And even as a child, I didn't like that too much. Because then, instead of being dull and logical, he's very silly and makes silly jokes all over, you know. So the joke is, this robot has gone from serious to silly. That would have been okay if he'd been silly for just one scene. But because he does it, he's silly throughout the whole thing, throughout the second half of the movie, and then finally starts being serious at the very end. So he was silly a bit too long, that's what I'm saying there. And also, I suppose because Pee Wee Herman was a very popular character at the time. The Pee Wee Herman show, the Pee Wee Herman film, and that the gimmick of the film was, the man that plays Pee Wee Herman is in this film. So that's what the people are going to want. Or did they? I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was good that he did a voice so different because it shows that he can act, you know. But, you know, is Pee Wee Herman relevant at all to this story? You know, there's a time and a place for Pee Wee Herman. I don't know if it was such a good idea to put him in this film. But there we are. Okay, let me say some of the good things. I'll have a drink of tea here. Okay, that's the visual aid, a cup of tea. The good thing is, the spaceship, it's quite impressive even today, because they were using like CGI, quite primitive, but quite good for its time. They were pioneering new special effects, you know. A lot of people, including myself, thought there was no CGI in films until the early 90s, but no, that's not true. They did have it now and again, very rarely, in 80s movies. And the way the spaceship changes shape, it's shaped like a walnut, and then it's shaped like it has a long nose or something. And when it zooms really, really fast across the sea, and you can see the reflection of the clouds and the sea in the shiny metal. So yeah, that was quite impressive, yeah. So yeah, the special effects for the spaceship is quite good. And also, the robot, he can sort of morph out of the metal, you know. They couldn't do that they could do that a bit better now, but yeah, it holds up, yeah, for its time, yeah. And so yeah, the special effects of the spaceship are good, and also, there's nothing to indicate it's science fiction when you first see it. So if you'd never heard of it and watched it, there's nothing to indicate science fiction at all for the first, like, 20 minutes. We just see David, his family, and how he's very happy, although he bickers with his brother now and again. And we establish the scene is set, we establish the character. Then he has a knock on the head or something in the forest. And when he gets up, of course the first thing he does is go back to his house. Different people are living there. He's in fact 8 years in the future. And, you know, originally he was in 1978. And then suddenly he's in 1986. So at first it was really strange and baffling. I thought, because the first time I saw the film, I thought there was no time travel at all. I thought that he'd been in a coma or something, and for some strange reason he hasn't aged. And therefore, you know, he hasn't travelled through time. Just something odd has happened to him, and he's been in a coma and hasn't aged. But no, it's later revealed that's not what's happened at all. He's been inside a spaceship, and because time slows down when you go at the speed of light, so he's travelled to Phalon, which is light years away. It took him about 2 hours to get there and back again, but 8 years have passed because of Einstein's theory that if you went fast enough, lots of time would pass for everyone else, but not for you. And he's not very happy about this. He doesn't like this new time period. You know, he's annoyed that his favourite TV show has been cancelled. That's a minor problem, but, you know, everything's different. And because he was 12, so all his friends are now 20. But it's not all bad. I mean, I'm sure your friends will want to be friends with you when you've grown into a man, so it's not. You can make some new friends, so it's not that bad, no. So why does he have this great urge to go back to his own time? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. A very young Sarah Jessica Parker, who's about 20 when the film was made, yeah, he makes good friends of her, and she tells him that he's not staying here for 2 days after all, it's going to be a whole week. She confides in him, basically. And I suppose it's like hint, hint. The second time you see the film, you understand the relevance of her. Because when he's 20, he'll be 20 when he sees her again, so they could meet up in the future. But anyway, he wants to go back to his own time because he realises that if he stays here, the scientists will treat him like a guinea pig for the rest of his life. What kind of a life is that? You know, he'll be miserable forever. So, yes, he wants to go back. Yeah. The weird thing is, when I was a boy, I thought, how does he know that? How does he know the scientists will treat him like a guinea pig forever? He hasn't seen E.T. You know? Yes, everyone was aware that's what you'd expect scientists to do because of the movie E.T., but he comes from 1978, so how can he know? He hasn't seen E.T., but whatever. Anyway, but Max says to him, if you travel backwards in time, the human body's too fragile, and you could be vaporized. And he goes, well, I have to take that chance, because what kind of a life is this? You know, I belong in my own time. And the weird thing is, Max earlier said that's physically impossible. Then, now he decides to tell him, he says there's a very, very small chance that you could... Okay. Okay, but then because it's a Disney film, we have to have a happy ending. And yes, he's very pleased to see his family again, back in 1978. And he says, Mom, I love you. And she says, well, what brought that on? He just shrugged his shoulder. Yeah, he could say, oh, because I've just been backwards and forwards in time, my life could have been ruined. But yes, he's more appreciative of his family now, after being deprived of them. But there's just one issue that's never raised in the film. His family back in 1986 have lost him for a second time and will never see him again, so they'll be really heartbroken, they'll be miserable. Or will they? Will that alternate version of them never exist because he went back to 1978? Or will they exist because there's more than one version of them in different time periods? Well, we don't know is a simple answer to that. Nobody knows the answer. There's a possibility that there's more than one future, or there'll only be one future if you go backwards and change it. So, well, whatever. The version of his family that he's with are perfectly happy. Yeah, so that's good. And, okay, let me wrap this review up. I suppose, would it work better if it was several kids in the space as opposed to just one? Because this one boy has to hold the whole story on his own. Well, I don't know. It does make it easier for a child to understand the concept of time travel and all that. Yeah, yeah. And also, David doesn't want to go in the institute. He wants to carry on living with his life, you know. And the father says if he says no, he doesn't have to do it. But then later on in the story, apparently NASA goes on, no, if we say he has to stay in there for the good of the government, then he doesn't have a say in the matter. Oh, they've convened